No More Wirebugs is a clickbait title. Don't leave, I'll explain. I figured a title like that would gather more eyes and ears and noses to this video. What I really want to talk about is wanting a simpler Monster Hunter. Lately, Monster Hunter has started to feel like a different game to me. Just like the overall feel of it all has been changing over time. And I don't think we're getting too far from what the core of the game is, especially on the surface level. Like if you look at screenshots of the game then and now, it's gonna look pretty much the same. But I feel like we've just been getting way too many toppings. Monster Hunter is just a good old classic cheeseburger. I'm a simple man, and I was attracted to Monster Hunter for a simple reason. Me hit monster with big stick, monster die, me win. And in the same vein, I could be at the fanciest restaurant, but if I see cheeseburger on the menu, it'll be hard for me to resist that delicious option. Monster Hunter is that game option. It's simple and good. People wish for a story with Monster Hunter, but I don't give a fart. I'm here to hunt. And at its core, it's always been a simple and satisfying gameplay loop. You kill a monster, you make its gear to kill tougher monsters. The gameplay is the secret sauce, and it's all we really need. But over time, we've garnered all these extra things, all these extra toppings, as I said before. Toppings being all the new innovations we've gotten, which I'll talk about later. But eventually, I've realized I just want to hunt monsters simply. I just want a basic cheeseburger. As good as they are, sometimes you don't want the Colorado burger, or you don't want the avocado bacon club burger. I don't know, I'm just reading off of Smashburger's menu. What I'm getting at is, all these other options sound nice, but sometimes you just want the simple original thing. And you realize you don't need all these extra bells and whistles. Now, the reason for this video is that no matter what, the feel of classic Monster Hunter has always felt like an option in some capacity. But the further we go and the more innovations we get, it's starting to look like the classic option will soon not be on the menu. That's the end of the food analogy, I promise. Anyways, in my opinion, that's not good. At the heart of my dilemma, and maybe yours as well, if you feel the same way, is that the feel of what I love about Monster Hunter has felt like it's been changing. And I mentioned that before, the feel. What do I mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
I mean that the relationship between hunter and monster has changed. Monster Hunter is a series that likes innovation, and over the years we've gotten some great new changes and quality of life additions. And for better or for worse, the gameplay has changed rather significantly as well. We have new tools, abilities, items, mechanics. We can damn near fly. And most of this has been added to the game rather seamlessly, in my opinion. Everything that's been added tends to work well and as intended. And you know what? Even the clutch claw wasn't that bad in retrospect. Monster AI has gotten tighter as well. However, therein lies one of the starting points for our dilemma. The relationship between player and monster is and always has been the main thing that decides how fun a Monster Hunter game is. And as such, it should be the priority. With each new change that the players gain, there have been changes to the monsters as well. And now we have a situation where multiple things are stacking upon themselves in the gameplay. I'll explain. In no particular order, here are some examples. The players gain a lot more aerial mobility. Monsters gain large hitboxes that reach way above them for the purpose of catching the players. The players gain several ways to counter monsters. Monsters gain several multi-hit attacks to punish these counters or longer windups to bait out the counters. Players now have multiple ways to iframe through attacks. Monsters are given large attacks with lasting hitboxes to fish for these iframes, or again, their multi-hit attacks are there to account for these additional iframes as well. Players can KO way easier now. Monsters recover from KO faster and now become resistant to KO quicker. Players gain the ability to wirefall to quickly hop back into the action and not lose too much downtime on DPS. Monsters gain moves that are specifically there to punish excessive wirefalling. Hunters now have access to an incredible amount of skills for either massive damage or better survivability. Monsters are given several ways to one-shot or two-shot the player, and it evens out. That was probably more stuff that I needed to say because I'm sure you started to see the pattern here. Player is given X tool, monster is given Y tool to deal with the player's new ability. The issue is not that any of this is necessarily bad, it just all feels like too much. You wouldn't have to give the monster all these things if you didn't give us all these things to begin with. And then what ends up happening is what always happens. We as the players will eventually learn how to effectively counteract and circumvent everything that the monsters have been given, which then leaves us with all of this stuff and all of these tools and mechanics to absolutely destroy the monster. And so yes, we're using the tools that the game is introducing to us, but if we're using everything as intended, eventually it starts to feel a little one-sided. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Well, Henry, I just saw you getting clapped on stream by Risen Valstrax, so it's not really looking as one-sided as you just said. And to that I say, you're absolutely right. Jesus Christ, why is that hunt so hard? But anyways, yes, giving a monster a bunch of crazy moves and more health does kind of even it out in the end, but giving a monster more health and just making the hunt longer already takes a somewhat problematic gameplay loop and just extends it. Should we not use all of our tools that we've been given at our disposal? Yes, we should, but we got too many goddamn tools. I feel like I'm playing this game where like a monster does like a bullshit move and I'm like, nah, I have this bullshit move, and we're just trying to one up each other with who has the crazier move. And honestly, in that regard, this can definitely be fun. On some days I do dig this, but I don't want this to be the only way we hunt. The flow of the gameplay just feels like it's changed. There's elements of it still there. The kind of dance that we've always done in Monster Hunter, it's still there. But there's just so much more going on now that sometimes it feels like the main thing I'm doing is managing cooldowns and meters, where instead these things were just supposed to be extra to a gameplay that was already solid to begin with. And you know what also doesn't feel great? When Monster Hunter gameplay starts to boil down to, well, how many of this thing can I land in the shortest amount of time? Like, how many impact craters can I land? Or how many strong arm stances can I do? And I know Greatsword isn't the best example because the main thing of the gameplay is landing, one hard-hitting thing. But when it starts to turn into that for several weapons, and how many of this one specific hard-hitting thing can I land until the monster dies, something about that just doesn't feel great for this game. I'm down for a branch of Monster Hunter to go and continue on this path with more flashy and explosive hunts. I'm very down. But I would love to have an installment where we go back to just something a bit more simple. Just whacking the monster until it dies, and it looks and feels good to do so. Now, despite the overall tone of the hunts changing, for me in my opinion, I will say again that the games have been incredibly fun. There's now more sets to make than ever in Sunbreak, and multiple ways to play and still be incredibly effective and optimal if you're trying to do that, which I think is really, really good, because in the past sometimes we were kind of bottlenecked into using one set and playing a certain way. Hunts are fun, mobility is fun, and I think simple changes that aren't too game changing have been the most effective. For example, I think switch skills are an incredible idea and are a great way to introduce new things you can do with your weapon, something that you can switch up for a specific monster hunt without making things too crazy. Changes along those lines of like switch skills I think would be great to see, but maybe we don't need a new game altering gimmick introduced in each new game. Maybe we don't need a dozen tools at our disposal. Maybe we don't need Wirebugs. And so the culmination of what I'm trying to say is that I know that every Monster Hunter is going to introduce some new mechanic, but my hope is that it takes more of a backseat in the overall gameplay and isn't the priority. Things like specific clutch claw attacks, mantles, as much as I love GU, hunting styles, hunter arts, a specific counter that completely revolutionizes how weapon is played, wirebugs, silkbind attacks, all of this stuff is a lot of fun, a lot of fun, but it should be extra to the gameplay. It should add on to it. I don't think that all of the extra flashy stuff we can do has completely sidelined the core gameplay. I don't think we're there yet, but that's my fear, that we're heading in that direction rather quickly. And so yeah, I just hope that the next Monster Hunter game is just a bit more simple, but also bring back underwater combat. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this was my first video in quite some time. I'm going to be trying to dedicate a lot more time to YouTube. In the past year, for most of 2022, I was definitely just streaming a lot more, and I was busy just performing a bunch of shows, which is awesome. I'll talk to you guys about that a bit more some other time. But I definitely neglected the channel for quite some time. But going forward, I'm going to try to get back into my, semi-consistent ways in uploading as much as I can. But guys, thank you so much for those of you who have stuck around, for all the continued support. I really appreciate you. I still stream a lot on Twitch, so please go check me out at twitch.tv/Herney. I'm also going to be putting some gaming content and some music stuff, because I know some of you guys have asked me about my musical side of things. I will be putting some music stuff on TikTok. I hopped on TikTok, so I'll put that in the description below. And I'm still kind of new to the app. And yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully I will see y'all soon. Please take care. I wish you guys the best in this new year, 2023, and take it easy.